My name is Sophia. I'm 37 years old. And 3 weeks ago, my entire life shattered in the span of a single phone call. I was sitting on my couch, watching a movie with my husband, when my sister's name appeared on my phone screen. It was almost midnight. She never called that late. I remember looking at the time and feeling a small flicker of confusion. Then I answered. And nothing has felt real since. Before I tell you what happened, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Now, let me take you back to that night. 3 weeks ago, my life was completely normal. Boring, even. And I had no idea how precious boring could be. My husband, Daniel, traveled frequently for work. He was a regional manager for a logistics company, which meant he spent 3 weeks out of every month on the road. His territory covered 5 states, so he was constantly flying or driving to client meetings, warehouse inspections, and corporate training sessions. When he was gone, the apartment felt empty. The bed felt too big. The silence felt heavy. So when he came home, we guarded those evenings like treasure. That particular night, he had returned from a 5-day trip to Chicago. He walked through the door around 6 in the evening, dropped his suitcase in the hallway, and pulled me into a hug that lasted almost a full minute. He looked tired but happy. The dark circles under his eyes told me he hadn't slept well on the road. But his smile was genuine. He brought me my favorite chocolate, the expensive kind with sea salt caramel that you can only find at that little specialty shop near the train station. He remembered. He always remembered. We ordered Thai food from the place on Elm Street. Pad CEW for him, green curry for me. We ate on the couch with the coffee table pushed closer so we could both reach. We laughed about old memories, our first date, the time he got lost driving us to the airport, the inside jokes that only the two of us understood. We chose a horror movie neither of us had seen before. Something about a haunted house. I wasn't really paying attention to the screen. I was paying attention to the way his chest rose and fell. The way his fingers traced small circles on my shoulder. The way he existed so solidly, so undeniably, right next to me. The lights were dim. The rain was tapping against our apartment windows. His arm was resting casually behind my shoulders. I remember thinking, this is it. This is happiness. Quiet, ordinary, unremarkable happiness. The kind you don't appreciate until it's gone. I had no idea that in less than 30 minutes, I would question whether the man beside me was even human. My phone buzzed against the wooden coffee table. The vibration was loud against the surface, cutting through the movie's soundtrack. I glanced at the screen. My sister, Claire. Almost midnight. Claire and I were close, but she wasn't a late-night caller. She had 2 young kids who woke up at dawn. She was usually asleep by 10. So seeing her name on my screen at that hour made something small and cold settle in my stomach. I almost ignored it. I told myself I would call her in the morning. But something about the late hour made me pick up. Sophia, she said. Her voice was shaking. Not crying yet, but close. The kind of shake that comes from trying very hard not to fall apart. Something happened, she said. You need to come to the hospital right now. I sat up straighter. The movement made Daniel's arm slip from my shoulders. He looked at me with confused eyes. What? Why? Are you okay? I asked. It's not me, she said. It's Daniel. He was in a severe accident. He's in surgery right now. The doctors said. Sophia, they said he might not make it. Please come. Please just come. I actually laughed. I'm not proud of that. But in that moment, her words made no logical sense. Daniel was sitting right next to me. I could feel his body heat through his sweatshirt. I could smell his cologne, the sandalwood and cedar one I bought him for our anniversary. I could see his reflection in the dark screen of the television. Claire, I said slowly, carefully, like I was talking to someone who was confused, that's impossible. Daniel is right here. He's sitting next to me on the couch. We're watching a movie. I can literally touch him right now. Silence on her end. Then, quieter. Almost a whisper. Sophia, I'm at the hospital right now. I'm standing in the waiting room. I saw them wheel him in on a gurney. I saw his face. It's Daniel. His wedding ring. His clothes. Everything. Please. Just come. I wouldn't call you if I wasn't sure. I looked at the man beside me. He had turned his head slightly during the conversation. His brow was furrowed with confusion. His hand reached out and gently touched my arm. "What's wrong?" he mouthed silently. I felt the strangest sensation in my chest. Not fear yet, just wrongness. Like reality had shifted slightly to the left and I hadn't noticed. Like someone had moved all the furniture in a dark room and I was about to walk into a wall. I told Claire I was on my way. I hung up. I stood there in my living room, holding my phone, staring at the man who was supposed to be my husband. He asked me what was wrong. I told him. He listened carefully. Then he did something that, at the time, seemed completely reasonable. He took the phone from my hand. He called Claire back himself. I watched him speak to her in a calm, measured voice. He asked her questions. What hospital? What did the doctors say? Did she see his face clearly? Could it be a mistake? After a few minutes, he handed the phone back to me. They probably mixed up identities, he said softly. Hospitals make mistakes sometimes. Someone probably had his ID or his wallet. It happens more than you'd think. He looked concerned, but not scared, just thoughtful. Still, he added, maybe you should go check. It'll calm your sister down. She sounds really upset. I'll be right here when you get back. Something about the situation felt strange, but not dangerous. Just confusing. Like a math problem with too many variables. So I grabbed my coat. I kissed him goodbye. I walked out the door and drove to the hospital. The entire drive, I kept telling myself it was a misunderstanding. Daniel was at home. I had just left him there. Alive. Safe. Eating popcorn on the couch. The rain was falling harder now. The windshield wipers slapped back and forth. The streets were empty. Every traffic light seemed to turn red just as I approached. I gripped the steering wheel and repeated the same sentence in my head like a prayer. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. But when I walked through those emergency room doors, the first thing I saw was my sister. She was standing by the nurse's station. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red and swollen. She had been crying for a while. She rushed toward me and grabbed my hands. Her fingers were cold. "Thank God you came," she said. She led me down a long hallway. The lights were too bright. The smell of antiseptic was overwhelming. Nurses moved quickly past us. Gurneys squeaked. Machines beeped behind closed doors. Somewhere, a person was crying. We stopped outside a set of double doors marked surgery in red block letters. A sign underneath read, "No entry without authorization." A doctor approached us. He was wearing scrubs and holding a clipboard. His face was tired. He had probably been working for 12 hours. "Mrs. Carter?" he asked. I nodded. "Your husband was brought in approximately 2 hours ago following a motor vehicle accident on the interstate. He suffered significant internal bleeding and a collapsed lung. But the surgery was successful. He's stable now. You can see him in recovery shortly." My mouth opened. Nothing came out. I looked at my sister. She was crying again, silently, tears running down her cheeks. "There must be a mistake," I finally whispered. "My husband is at home. I just left him there 10 minutes ago. He's sitting on our couch." The doctor looked at me strangely. Then he gently pushed open the door to the recovery room. And I saw him. Lying in that hospital bed, surrounded by beeping machines and 4 drips and bandages, was a man with my husband's face. Same jawline. Same nose. Same small scar near his left eyebrow from a childhood bike accident. Same dark hair, though his was matted with dried blood. Same wedding ring on his left hand. I grabbed the door frame to keep from collapsing. My knees buckled. My sister caught my arm. Because if that man was Daniel, then who was sitting on my couch? Who had I just kissed goodbye? Who had I been watching a movie with? Who had been sleeping in my bed for the past 3 nights? My mind refused to process what my eyes were seeing. I stepped closer to the bed. The man's face was bruised. There were tubes in his arms. A ventilator was breathing for him in slow, mechanical pulses. But underneath all of that, he was unmistakably, undeniably Daniel. I looked at his hands. I knew those hands. I had held them for 10 years. I had watched them chop vegetables and tie his shoes and wave goodbye from airport security. These were his hands. I looked at his left eyebrow. That scar came from a bicycle accident when he was 12. He told me the story on our third date. His brother pushed him into a ditch. He needed 7 stitches. I looked at his wedding ring. It was the same titanium band we had picked out together. There was a small scratch on the inside from when he caught it on a metal railing. Everything matched. But so did the man at home. I stayed at the hospital for 2 hours. I sat beside that unconscious man and studied every detail of his face. His hands, his breathing pattern, the way his fingers twitched when he dreamed. Everything matched. But so did the man at home. Eventually, my sister drove me back to my apartment. I remember standing outside my front door, staring at the wood grain, unable to turn the handle. What if the man inside wasn't Daniel? What if I opened that door and saw a stranger wearing my husband's face? I turned the key. The apartment was warm. The TV was still on, playing some late-night comedy show. The popcorn bowl was still on the coffee table, half empty. And there he was. Daniel. Sitting on the couch in his gray sweatpants, holding a glass of water. He looked up and smiled. Hey, you okay? You were gone for hours. I stood in the doorway, frozen. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. He stood up and walked toward me. His footsteps were familiar. His posture was familiar. The way he tilted his head slightly to the left when he was worried, that was familiar too. He wrapped his arms around me, and I felt his heartbeat against my chest. It was steady. Normal. Human. I'm sorry you had to go through that, he said softly. Mistakes happen. Hospitals mix up identities all the time. You should get some sleep. You look exhausted. I nodded. I let him lead me to the bedroom. I let him hold me. But I didn't sleep. I lay awake all night, listening to him breathe, wondering if I was going crazy or if I was in danger. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of my life. I lived 2 realities simultaneously. At home, I played the role of the loving wife. I made breakfast. I folded laundry. I laughed at his jokes. I let him kiss me goodnight. But every morning, before he woke up, I drove to the hospital. I sat beside the other Daniel and watched him slowly heal. The doctors continued calling him my husband. His chart said Carter, Daniel. His emergency contact was my phone number. I asked the nurses questions. I studied his medical records. I learned that his accident happened on a highway 30 miles outside the city. A hit and run. The other driver was never found. The police had no leads. The hospital had no security footage from that stretch of road. At home, I started noticing small things. Tiny pauses before my husband answered certain questions. A slightly different way of making coffee. He used to put the sugar in first, then the cream. Now he did it in reverse. A cologne that smelled almost right, but not exactly. He used to wear a specific brand from a specific store. Now it was something similar but cheaper. Nothing definitive. Nothing I could point to and say, see, this proves it. Just a feeling. A growing, gnawing, terrifying feeling that the man sleeping beside me was wearing someone else's face. Then my sister called again. But this time, her voice was different. Quieter. More careful. Like she was afraid someone might be listening. Sophia, she said, I found something. Something you need to see. Come to my office. Alone. Don't tell anyone. Not your husband. Not anyone. I went. She locked the door behind me. She pulled the blinds closed. Then she sat me down at her computer and pulled up a series of files. Medical records from a private clinic 3 states away. Security footage from their parking lot. Financial transactions between bank accounts. Emails. Photographs. Dozens of photographs of a man I recognized immediately. Victor. Daniel's best friend since college. The best man at our wedding. Someone who had eaten dinner at our table hundreds of times. Someone who had held our future children in his arms. Someone we trusted completely. The security footage showed him entering the clinic wearing a cap and mask. He walked like he didn't want to be seen. Hunched shoulders. Fast steps. Then another clip showed him leaving, but his face was different. Bandaged. Swollen. Bruised. Healing. Surgery after surgery. Month after month. Appointment after appointment. Until he looked exactly like Daniel. My sister spoke softly. That clinic specializes in facial reconstruction and identity transformation. It's expensive. It's secretive. Most of their clients are in witness protection or running from dangerous situations. But anyone with enough money can use their services. She pulled up more documents. I checked their records. Victor underwent full identity transformation surgery. He's been planning this for over a year. Maybe longer. I couldn't breathe. The room felt smaller. The walls felt closer. The accident, she continued, wasn't random. Victor arranged it. He hired someone to run Daniel off the road. He wanted Daniel out of the way so he could step into his life. Your life. Your money. Your future. Then she showed me the last file. Victor's personal journal. Recovered from his apartment after a tip from an anonymous source. Page after page of obsession. Photographs of me taped inside. Notes about my schedule. My habits. My favorite foods. My daily routine. The times I left for work. The route I took to the grocery store. And one sentence circled in red pen, underlined 3 times, that I will never forget. When Daniel is gone, she'll never know the difference. I'll be him. I'll be better than him. And she'll love me instead. I cried for a long time that night. Not from fear. Not even from betrayal. From rage. This man, this monster, had touched me. He had held me. He had whispered sweet things in my ear while my real husband fought for his life in a hospital bed. I wanted to confront him immediately. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hurt him the way he had hurt me. But I didn't. Because revenge isn't about emotion. Revenge is about patience. I went home that night and smiled at him. I kissed his cheek. I told him I loved him. And then I started gathering evidence. Every text message. Every financial record. Every photograph. Every security footage clip. I documented everything. I created a timeline. I built a case. I contacted the police privately. I worked with a detective who specialized in identity fraud and conspiracy. We met in parking lots. We used burner phones. We built a case so airtight that Victor would never see daylight again. For 3 more weeks, I played the game. I let him believe his plan was working. I let him grow comfortable. I let him think I was his. All while I waited for the right moment to destroy him. The moment came on a Tuesday morning. Victor, because I refused to call him Daniel anymore, had scheduled a legal meeting to transfer financial authority over our joint assets. He wanted full control of the accounts, the properties, the investments, the life insurance policies. He thought I was going to sign everything over to him. We sat in a conference room with lawyers present. Victor sat beside me, confident, smiling. He wore one of Daniel's suits. He used Daniel's pen. The documents were placed in front of us. I picked up the pen. I paused. Then I said, calmly, before I sign anything, I want everyone to watch something. I pressed a button on my phone. The projector screen behind us flickered to life. And the surgery video began playing. Victor's smile disappeared instantly. His face went white. His hands started shaking. This isn't, he stammered. This is some kind of... The door opened. Police officers walked in. The room fell silent. I stood up slowly. I looked Victor directly in his stolen face. And I said the words I had been waiting weeks to say. You wanted my husband's life. So now you get to spend yours in a cage. The trial lasted 4 days. Victor was charged with identity fraud, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, stalking, and psychological manipulation. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. He received life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. I visited the real Daniel the day after the verdict. He was awake now. The doctors had removed the bandages. His eyes fluttered open when I walked in. He looked at me. Really looked at me. And he whispered, Sophia? What happened? Where am I? I held his hand. I told him everything. The accident. The surgery. The imposter. The 3 weeks I spent living with a stranger wearing his face. He cried. I cried. But they were different tears than before. Not from fear. Not from grief. from relief. Because after all those weeks of doubt and confusion and terror, I finally knew who my real husband was. And the man who tried to steal my life? He lost everything.